In this lecture, we will learn when and how to use all of the varieties of construction planes. These planes are temporary reference planes that are excellent at helping us to model perhaps complex elements or designs. Just like the default planes, so the XY, the XZ, and the YZ, these construction planes are used for sketching to then later 3D model, and I'll show you some examples as we go through each one. So let's jump into Fusion, and you'll see here that I've drawn in 4 existing bodies. So I'm going to be using these to help me demonstrate a use for each one of these construction planes. The construction planes are located just to the top here, so they're under the Solid tab, and then as we come across to the right-hand side, we've got Construct. And if we open this up, we've got our 8 planes located up here. So we're going to go through each one of these today. Let's take a look at the offset plane to begin with. So this is nice and simple. Let's left click on this once. We have a toolbox pop up. And then here we need to define either an existing plane. For example, we've got the default, the XY, the XZ, or the YZ. So just located down here. Or we can select a face. I can select this face, this one, any of these faces here. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to choose this face here. We'll then see our construction plane appear. And we can use the arrow here to either move that up if we want to sketch some geometry here, or we can move it in the opposite direction and actually go into existing bodies. So in this case, I'm going to go into this body, let's say like 25, okay, press enter, and then we see the plane appear here. If we look on the left-hand side where the browser is, come down to the bottom, you'll see a new folder has appeared called construction. And within that, we've got our plane that we've added here. So this one is referred to as plane 9. And we can right click and rename that if you like. I'm going to leave it as plane 9 for now. We can turn off the visibility by clicking the eye there, turning it back on like so. So let me give an example of why we might put a plane inside an existing body. We right click on that and we're going to create a sketch on this plane. I'm going to go for, actually I'm just going to go for a rectangle, press R on the keyboard and draw in a rectangle here, let's say 50 by 25. Enter. Let's finish that sketch there then, and you'll see that sketch is located on the plane that we've added. So we see the sketch just there. Let's now go ahead on Solid, and I'm going to make an extrusion there. I'm going to draw the arrow up, and Fusion will recognize that as a cutting operation. So I'll leave that there for now. And I'll come across and I input a taper. Let's go 15 degrees. Okay, and we see that tapering extrusion cut moving out there. If I press OK, we've now got that feature added. Move that plane. So that's how we add the offset plane. Nice and simple. Just select the face, select this position, and then we can begin sketching. Next construction plane is a plane at angle. So the second one down. So if we select this, we then need to define a line or an edge in which we can generate this plane from. So for example, I'm going to choose this edge here. If I left click once, I then need to input an angle. But here I can control the wheel. Okay, I can input the plane like so, or we can input the angle. So only for 45 degrees, press enter. Now plane's generated, and then we've got plane 10 under our construction folder, appearing just there. Let's right click on that, create a sketch. Let's input some geometry here. I'm going to go with a circle. Just going to draw that anywhere for the time being. Let's go 25 mil. Go solid, extrude, rotate that slightly. And with the arrowhead, we can move this to add material in this direction, or we can remove material if we add it in the other direction. But also we can have material if we choose a joining operation. But in this case, I'm going to go with the cutting operation, press OK. And then you see we input this feature here. Next, we have the tangent plane. So I want to demonstrate that using this cylinder here. Let's come up to our construction tools. Let's go into the tangent plane, third one down. And then our toolbox just dictates that we need to select a face. So in this case, I want to select this face, and we will have a plane that's tangential to this face here. The left click once, and our plane appears. And then we can use the wheel to rotate that, or we can enter in an angle. I want to control this by going on -315. I think that's the angle I want. Yeah, that's correct. That's OK. Now to demonstrate a use for this, I'm going to right click, so create sketch. And for this, I'm going to add some text. Go into create text. I'm going to add in a text box, roll that out, but Fusion 2025. Okay, press OK. Happy with the size and its position. And we see that text now upon that plane. So it's not wrapped around that face. It's just sitting on our plane 11 in this case. Turn that grid off. Then let's come up to Solid, go into our creation tools, and let's emboss that text. I'll select the text and on the faces, I'm going to select this circular face here. Okay, and then we can see we have that embossed text there, or it's actually engraved in this case. So I want to switch that to emboss. Press OK. Get that from the home view. There we go, and that's how we wrap text around in an embossed fashion onto a cylindrical face like this. A very straightforward tool to use. It can be very useful when we're referencing construction planes or any type of geometry from planes that are tangential to an existing face. And next we have the midplane. I use this one quite regularly. It's the fourth one down. Let's select midplane, and then we just need to define two planes here. Okay, so if we want a plane to appear in the center of this square, I'm going to reference this face here. I'm going to rotate the model and select this face here, and then you'll see a midplane appears in the center. Okay, and likewise, if I use the same tool again, the same on the other two faces, we've got that plane appear there. I'm going to press Ctrl Z on my keyboard to remove those. I want to give you one more example of how we can use the midplane. Let's say, for example, you choose this face. Now, we don't need to choose a face that's parallel to this one. For example, this one here. We can choose one that's perpendicular. So this one here, if I select these two, we'll then see this plane appear at a 45-degree angle. We begin doing any sketching or work on that. So another very straightforward plane to use, and one that we use fairly regularly when modeling. The next construction plane is the plane through two edges. I'm just going to hide this plane first. So our plane 12, let's remove that one. Come to construct, it's like our plane through two edges. This is very simple, so we just need to define two edges. In this case, I'll use my two bodies over here. I'm going to select this edge here, and then I'm going to reference this edge here, and you'll see our plane applies. Likewise, if I do the same thing, so two edges, let's go for this one and this one here, we can create a plane, go through those two edges as well. But notice a slight limitation here, where if we go through plane through two edges, we select this plane, we cannot select this plane as well. And so by means of angles, it's just not possible because the angle is indefinitely variable the further down this line that you go. So in this case, the two edges have to be parallel with one another. And so if I hide this plane here and we do a sketch, right click, create sketch, and make sure we're looking at that plane. And let's go in this case for, let's just go for a rectangle, a solid, extrude, and around. And then we're modeling from this plane here. So we can use the arrow to push material out or remove material like so. If I press OK, then got that slot running through this body here. Let's move on now to the plane through 3 points. So let's go into construct, like plane through 3 points. And quite self-explanatory in the title, we just need to select 3 points and identify these points within our model, and then a plane will be formed. So we're under the select tool already. I'm going to select, in this case, this point here. Let's go for this one and go for this one here. So these 3 points, we should have a plane that will form that's in contact with all 3 of them. I very rarely use the plane through 3 points, but can be used when working on something that's particularly complex. That's an overview of the plane through 3 points. The next construction plane is the plane tangent to a face at point. So we'll go ahead and turn this plane off to demonstrate this. Let's go into construct and select plane tangent to face at point. In this case, again, I'm going to use the cylinder. So the face that I want this plane to be tangent to is this face here. And then I need to define a point. So this point can be any existing point, and a plane will form that's related to that point. For example, if I go for this point here, we'll see our construction plane form, and that can be really useful for when we're working with like complex geometries and we need the plane to be in an exact location. I do an example there, right click, let's create a sketch. But that's a good example of the plane tangent to face a point, got a tangency, and then just referencing any point. And the last plane is the plane along path. So we need a path to demonstrate this on. I've drawn one in, I think it's sketch 9, that's correct. So I've got a path here. Let's go into construct. We'll select plane along path. And then very simply, we just select the path, left click once. We'll see our construction plane appear there. And we can use the arrow there to manually position this anywhere along the path. Okay, or we can control this. So when it comes to proportional distance type, number 1 would be right at the end of the path and 0's at the start. If I go 0.25, that's a quarter of a way down the path. 0.75 would be 3/4. And as we move this, we can see the distance will change accordingly. Another option here as well, it's physical. So this takes into account the actual length of this path. If we put a distance there of, let's say 150 mil, it will jump 150 mil into the path. And likewise, let's go for 250. So, okay. And that's how we put a construction plane in on a path. Then it can be used to sketch profiles, and then we can sweep along that path in either direction. Okay, so that is a summary of the construction planes within Fusion. I hope that all makes sense and you can understand where each of them would come into play. We will be using them throughout this course for sure. I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture.